Alright, what's up, video game enthusiasts? Let's talk about some stuff that happened this week with the games you love. From Mario Kart DLC release date finally announced, Helldivers 2 got a new trailer, as well as some fun and interesting stuff happening within the fighting game community. All that and more in this video. Do me a favor and like this video if you guys enjoy real quick news roundups like this. Please consider subscribing, as it does help me out tons. And without wasting any more of your precious time, let's get into this one. Alright, so Mario Kart DLC Wave 5 release date is finally announced. It will be coming July 12th. Per all the other waves, we're going to have 8 new tracks. One brand new track with like this toilet, bathroom, shrine track. It all looks really cool. I know a lot of people are kind of burnt out with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I'm one of the people who isn't burnt with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's one of those things that I like when DLC, when these new waves kind of come out, because it gives me a reason to go back and play it a little bit. It's not a game I'm playing consistently every day, but it's a game that I definitely always like to go back with my friends, with my family. It's a great game, and the more they add on to it, the more I like to keep playing it. So I'm excited for this one. The Nintendo Switch is like the little engine that could. I think going into this console generation, everyone was doubting it, and every year it kind of seems to like break records or just find a new way to kind of impress its audience and impress its fan base. And Nintendo Switch, 6 years into the console's lifespan, it's still breaking records. It was reported that the Nintendo Switch sold 380,000 units for the month of June in Japan, making it the best performing June in Japan that Nintendo has ever had in these last 6 years, which again is just wildly impressive that Nintendo Switch is still finding new ways to break new records. Nintendo Switch 2 rumors are always on an all-time high, but they're back again, and they're back bigger and badder than ever. The Nintendo Switch successor has been wildly speculated on, wildly rumored on, leaked, whatever you want to call it. Well, this news story is breaking out that apparently the Nintendo Switch 2 is said to be announced, released, unveiled, something within this month. Well, where are these rumors coming from? Well, it's coming from a Mr. Nash Weedle. Now, if you guys are familiar with that name, it's because he's the guy who correctly leaked that Metroid Dread was in production before they officially announced it. So he clearly knows some stuff. What he's pretty much said right now is the fact that the new Nintendo Switch 2 dev kit is in the hands of a Spanish development team. A lot of people were kind of connecting the dots. Mercury Steam, they're a Spanish development team. They're the people who made Metroid Dread. If you do the whole whiteboard with all the lines connecting, it makes sense that Nash Weedle knows something about Mercury Steam because he knew about Metroid Dread being worked on. Mercury Steam is a Spanish development team, so it makes sense for him to say that the Nintendo Switch 2 dev kit is in their hands. There might be some truth to that. I think a lot of people went a little overboard saying that they expect a new announcement in the month of July 2023. Just because a third-party studio that works closely with Nintendo maybe or maybe not has dev kits for the next successor, that's not really out of the ordinary. That's pretty commonplace, especially if a lot of us are thinking the next Switch comes out next year. It would make sense to start giving your hardware to your closest development teams, that way they can start working on next gen projects. So do they have dev kits? Probably. Are we getting an announcement soon? Probably not. Whole FTC court hearing between Activision, Microsoft, Xbox, PlayStation, all of the parties involved is getting really interesting as far as the information that's leaking via hardware, software, budgets, etc. One of the arguments that Microsoft, Xbox have been trying to make for the longest is that they should consider Nintendo Switch in this kind of conversation within this battle, and the judges have been saying because they're not considered like a luxury item like the Xbox Series X is, like the PlayStation 5 Standard Edition is, they're not considered on the same market. Xbox was trying to make the case that they sell their Xbox Series S at the same price as the Nintendo Switch and cheaper than the Nintendo Switch OLED. Also, they also added very nonchalantly that PlayStation likewise sells a less expensive digital edition for $399, and it is expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year at the same reduced price point. What? Did Microsoft just announce the PlayStation 5 Slim? Maybe. This is more like speculation. Microsoft is just like saying that this is what they expect to happen, based off of their backroom understandings of each company. And there's no way to say for sure yet if this is accurate, but it's starting to sound like it's accurate because Mr. Tom Henderson a while ago was also speculating that they might be announcing a PlayStation 5 detachable disk drive that could also potentially be the PlayStation 5 Slim that is being referenced in Microsoft's like court sayings or whatever. Whatever it is, there's no way of knowing for sure yet if it's accurate, but Microsoft definitely knows something. And with a lot of the rumors and murmurings around the PlayStation 5 Slim coming out soon, I wouldn't put it past them to announce a PlayStation 5 Slim sometime soon. I feel like the window to announce it and release it within 2023 is shrinking though. So I don't think if we don't get it by like this or next month, we probably won't get the PlayStation 5 Slim. But hey, anything could happen. They could very well announce it in August, September, right in time for the holiday season to kick off. But I don't know. I feel like we would have more concrete rumors by now if that was the case. Helldivers 2 is one of PlayStation's exclusive live service game that's coming out for the year of 2023, and they finally got a new like trailer about this, and it looks freaking amazing, man. I'm itching for like a new multiplayer game, and I was hoping Helldivers 2 would be the one. And everything that I'm seeing, from the combat to the aesthetic to the world, looks really interesting. I love the whole idea of friendly fire. I believe that was a thing in the original Helldivers. I never played the original Helldivers. This is the first time I'm really looking at this game. And the idea of your team like doing damage to you and like that really hurting you sounds like it's going to play really well and force squads to really communicate and use mics and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about that. My only concern is it looks like it's going to be... I mean, I don't know. They haven't released price points or release dates or anything like that. But if this game releases too close to, like, let's say the next Call of Duty or something, it is going to be... I mean, it's not going to stand a chance. You know, it needs to release sometime soon. And they haven't even announced a release date yet. So I believe the next Call of Duty is rumored to be releasing sometime in October. And if they wait too long into October, then I feel like, again, no one's going to want to play this when Call of Duty exists, and that's like the bigger game. Another worry is that if this game is $60, $70, it's going to be harder for me to convince other people to hop on with me. But hey, if everything works out, if this game is as polished as it is, it shouldn't have any issues. From what I see, this looks like a really fun game. It looks like it shouldn't really have a hard time finding an audience, especially because it's not only releasing on PlayStation, but it's also releasing on PC. And this looks like a game that PC players are going to have a blast playing. I know they really love like shooters, multiplayer games, stuff like that. So I'm just really excited for Helldivers 2 to come out. Final Fantasy XVI is one of the most controversial releases of 2023. It gets a ridiculously high review score of 88. Then some people are saying 88 ain't good enough. Some people are complaining about frame rates. Other people are saying the game looks amazing. 1 minute we're saying the game sells 3 million units and we're praising it for that. Now, the newest report, Famitsu sales charts, Final Fantasy 16, week 2, sales have declined by 90%, one counting physical games alone, in the country of Japan. What are you doing, Final Fantasy? What is going on? Well, let me try to shed a little bit of more information on this. First things first, this only accounted for physical sales, not digital. So obviously they did a lot more digitally, and we just don't have those numbers yet. I feel like we heard similar conversations going into Final Fantasy 16 that only sold X amount of numbers physically, but then when Square Enix actually released the full total numbers, everyone was happy. They were happy with it. That's point one. Point two, this happens with every game. They're going to have big blowout weeks, and then they always have declines on their way down, especially with Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is one of those franchises that everyone who's highly anticipated gets it day one, and everyone else kind of just waits for sales or waits for like more time to pass. It happens, especially with these newer games. I kind of actually applaud people for not going out there and buy them day one, because they're going to get updates. They're going to be better down the road. Chances are, if you're getting a game in 2023 on day one, you're playing the worst version of that game possible most of the time. So it makes sense, I think, for people to wait to purchase the game, especially in 2023, especially when you hear things like the game has some choppy frame rates, or they barely just fixed the blurring mechanic. I get it. It makes sense. The next thing is, this is Japan alone, and I think a lot of people have this like connection with Final Fantasy in Japan. Japan's RPG has always been Dragon Quest, not Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy has always been the RPG for Square Enix that is meant to kind of captivate a global audience, not just Japan. Square Enix uses Dragon Quest as their big Japanese RPG. So again, if this was Dragon Quest, I would be concerned. But it being Final Fantasy, specifically 16, that is definitely geared and focused in on a more Western audience, it only makes sense. This would be expected in Japan. Speaking of games being updated, Street Fighter 6 is getting its first huge, big meta change. DLC added. They're adding Rashid from Street Fighter 5 into Street Fighter 6. I love it, man. Rashid is one of my favorite characters in Street Fighter 5. He was one of the newer characters that I really gravitated towards. He had a really fun playstyle with the wind and his whole Arabic thing. Super cool. Love the guy. And his new Street Fighter 6 like playstyle looks so impressive, very intimidating. I kind of really want to give him a shot, as he has this really like free flowing kind of combo in the air style of gameplay. Freaking love it. For you guys who are new to fighting games, or maybe new to Street Fighters or whatever, you guys are in for a treat. With a new DLC character, especially one that looks like they play as crazy as this one, there's always going to be a huge meta shift. Characters that are top are going to kind of move around based off of how they react to Rashid. Rashid looks like a really fun character that's going to give characters like Cammy a run for their money. And I'm really excited to see what people think of him in Street Fighter 6, especially newer people who aren't really used to meta changes in fighting games yet. Again, I'm picking him up. I want to kind of test him out, see if I might switch up. Currently, I main Manon, which is very different than Rashid. But honestly, Rashid plays a lot more like characters that I played in the past. So I might give him a shot and see if I might have to switch up on this one. Let's keep talking about fighting games real quick. Mortal Kombat 1, they showed off a new trailer. This is like the Lin Kuei trailer showing off a bunch of new updates. The biggest update for me is the introduction of Smoke being playable in Mortal Kombat 1. Smoke, if you guys don't know, hasn't been playable since Mortal Kombat 9, and he was actually one of my favorite characters in Mortal Kombat 9. Him and Cabal were my favorite two characters to play with, so I'm freaking excited for Smoke to be playable in Mortal Kombat 1. I like that he's not Cyber Smoke. I do prefer like the more ninja Smoke. That's the Smoke that I really like to play as and look at. Speaking of the Cybers, they're bringing back Sector and Cyrax as assist, as like the side characters. I like Sector and Cyrax. I would love them more if they were on the main roster, but in I think kind of the spirit of not overfilling this game with ninjas, because that sometimes becomes an argument in Mortal Kombat, is there's too much ninjas with Scorpion and Rain and Sub-Zero and all these people. Overall, Smoke is in the game. They also announced Rain in the game. Both of the characters look freaking fantastic, phenomenal. I can't wait to get my hands on this game finally. It's coming out in September. And this has just been a great year for fighting games with Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, and Tekken 8 on the horizon. I'm excited. 2023 has been a great year for things like remakes, remasters, ports, stuff like that. The newest remaster, remake / whatever conversation is revolving Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption Remastered has been rumored for quite a while now, but it's starting to look a lot more possible. Earlier this week, the Creators Rating Board people noticed that Red Dead Redemption was rated on the Korean rating board, which a lot of times leaks games out early. This game was also rumored a while back for kind of a long time. So a lot of the chips are starting to add up, saying that Red Dead Redemption is most definitely going to get a remastered. My only hope is that it doesn't get released on 2023 because, man, I got so many freaking games to play. Please push it to 2024. This feels like an awesome January 2024 game to play. Just because I played it before, I freaking loved it then, and I definitely want to check it out again. Just, again, if it releases this year, again, further cements 2023 as a fantastic year. Some of the rumors are starting to speculate that maybe August is going to be its release date, which that's going to be pretty crazy. August is another good month to release it in because we don't really have a lot of things. The only things off my top of my head that are huge are like Armored Core 6. So all in all, it looks like Red Dead Redemption is going to be getting remastered sometime soon. The last thing I want to touch on following this whole remake remaster conversation is this new rumor of Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake happening sometime in the near future. A source that kind of wants to remain anonymous, unnamed, etc., has spoken on the fact that Assassin's Creed Black Flag is being worked on as a remake by the same team at Ubisoft that's working currently on the Skulls and Bones game. This makes too much sense in my opinion. I feel like they're making Skulls and Bones, which is pretty much just a naval ship combat from Black Flag, into its own game. That has been a very troublesome development time. There's no hype around that game. It's essentially dead on arrival. So I think it just makes sense to use all that development that they used on that game and kind of shift it into Black Flag. That way you don't waste all that time, because Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake will make numbers. That'll sell. Skulls and Bones is not going to sell dirt. It's going to be a failure. It's going to be a flop. Unless they do something crazy, no one is really hyping that game. No one's expecting much from it. So for me, that's a really smart move by Ubisoft to kind of just use all that work that they did for Skulls and Bones, still release that game because they have to, but then how can you now make that work not a waste of time? Remake Black Flag, one of people's favorite Assassin's Creed game of all time. I love it. I kind of want to see them remake it. A lot of people were a little upset that they're not remaking something like the original Assassin's Creed, the one that probably needs it the most. And I feel like if we're using the idea that they're trying to make money off of their Skulls and Bones development, then Black Flag is their only real option at this point. What it does do is open up the doors for remakes for the Assassin's Creed franchise, and I feel like if this does really well, remaking the original Assassin's Creed would probably be the next best decision that Ubisoft can make, especially when their whole plan is kind of doubling down on Assassin's Creed, doubling down on what makes Assassin's Creed so unique and fun and interesting. That first one for me was my favorite Assassin's Creed game just because it was my introduction to this style of gameplay. And seeing it being remade in like newer hardware, I would love to see it. I would also love to see Black Flag. All in all, I'm excited if this thing does come true. It does sound early in development, so probably won't see it till like 2026. Overall, sounds good to me though. Anyways, you guys, that ends this whole news roundup. Do me a favor and like the video. If you guys like the video, please consider subscribing, as it does help me out tons. And with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for sticking around. See you guys in our next video.